Hello.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to this very interesting discussions. And we are having some of the very eminent names in the industry. And today we'll be talking about one of the commodity basket, which has been confusing the traders, the farmers, the government, and everyone. I would just do a little bit of mic test. Neeraj, am I visible as well as I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Very clearly.
Excellent. So, guys, thanks a lot. I would thank all the audience who are joining on multiple platforms, including this Zoom webinar, as well as on LinkedIn and YouTube. Thanks a lot for joining us. Today, we are having some of the very eminent names who would be discussing over past 1.5 hours and maybe a little bit more on pulses. And we'll be discussing about various aspects. And we are also having experts from all across the globe. We are having experts from Africa, Canada, Australia, India for sure, UAE, and they will delve into how do we see going forward the overall pulses basket evolving. The focus is on five key commodities. So we'll be talking about Black Matpe, we'll be talking about red lentils, we'll be talking about pigeon pea, we'll be talking about desi chickpea, and for sure yellow peas, which has actually troubled everyone for past more than 6 months. And our eminent panel, which comprise of quite, I'll say that, stalwarts of the industry, and they will be helping us in deciphering how this overall sector looks like. So we would be having Mr. Sunil Patwari. He's already here. Thank you, sir, for joining us. He's managing director at Seasons Overseas PT Limited, Singapore. We are having Mr. Jayjeev. He's a director at Mandala Trading. He'll be joining all the way from Australia. We are having Mr. Hiten Kataria, who is partner at Sunraj Group. Then we are having Mr. HIMANSHU Pandey, who is profit center head for Pulses at Valency International, Dubai. We are having Mr. Rahul Chauhan, who has been an astute analyst and director at iGrain, also joining us. Then we are having one of the very sharp researcher, Mr. Tanmay Kumar Deepak. He is head of research at AgriWatch. Then we are having Ms. Harsha Rai. She's VP Sales at Mayur Global. Shyam Narsariaji, he's CEO at RV and having very strong understanding of Myanmar, joining directly from Myanmar. And then we'll be having Mr. Deepak Rawat, he's senior trader at Empress International, joining from Canada. And at the same time, we'll also be having Mr. Grou, who will be joining us from Tanzania. And with this great panel, it's an honor to be discussing what I call, like, the most important commodity in agriculture. Pulses are important for a very simple reason, is that actually they provide us very vital nutrients, amino acids, protein, which are very critical for typically building us as I would say human beings. We are building our brains, so they are very important when it comes to the nutrition security. Now I would just delve into a small presentation, just to, like, set the context. And I would request again indulgence of Neeraj, if you can see my screen, just let me know.
Yeah, it's visible.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, guys, let's understand the first of all global outlook of pulses. And if you see that current production of pulses is approximately 92 million metric tons, and we typically cultivate pulses on 95 million hectares. While going forward, we see that the normative demands, if we go by that simple calculation, the world would be requiring close to 150 million metric tons of pulses. And we definitely doesn't have that amount of land available. While since 1961 onwards to 2024, we have seen that the overall yield of pulses have increased substantially, but still it is too minuscule to take care of all our demands. So in 1961, the overall pulses productivity was close to 637 kg per hectare, and now it has gone to 968 kg per hectare. But still, like, if you see that, when you see it in comparison to other agriculture commodities like wheat, rice, the growth has been very slow. And the CAGR since 1961 has been only 0.66%. And that's created a lot of challenge because we have been living in a world which is pulses, I would say, deficient. Now, coming back to India. So India, we are seeing that India is evolving as a very strong mid-income country, and that's why our food demand is increasing substantially. And when we have more disposable income left in our hands, it's one thing people do is that actually they start taking better food. They look for more nutrition, and this is where we have seen that actually demand of pulses has been increasing substantially over the past 2.5 decades, and that is where actually, if you see that in 2024, we have consumed close to 28 million metric tons of pulses, and out of which 24 million metric tons of pulses were produced in India, and we ended up importing close to 6.6 million metric tons. Now we also have some carry left, so it's not that all the pulses which has been imported has been consumed. Specifically, when we see yellow peas and chana, we are having a lot of them available at different ports, warehouses. And if we look at a little bit the longer horizon, in next 10 years, the India's demand for pulses would be close to 36 million metric tons. But again, here also, if we go by normative needs, that is actually minimum requirement of pulses, which is 40 gram per individual, you'll find that actually our normative demand is close to 38 million metric tons. So even today, we are consuming 10 million metric tons less than what we should be consuming. And that is a problem because we are seeing that the stunting and wasting of the kids has increased, because India is predominantly a society where 70% of the people consume protein only through pulses or milk. India is a vegetarian country where these 70% of the people predominantly they either don't consume meat or they consume meat once in a while. So that makes it very important that actually our focus on pulses to increase. And I would congratulate government when they came out with in the recent budget allocating close to 1,000 crore for developing pulses sector in India and enhance our own productivity. Now, if we see that overall since 2000, and when we delve into the future, we are looking at the global production was roughly 60.5 million metric tons in 2000, and India was around 11.1, and the global trade was 9 million metric tons, out of which 1 million metric ton was India's import. Now, it's circa 2024, right? Now we are seeing that the global production is 92, India's production is 24, global trade 22, and India 6.6. So if you see that India has suddenly, over past 2 years, have substantially increased their imports, which is a big red flag. And we have to see that actually going forward also, if we continue the way we are going, I'll say business as usual, we'll find that by 2035, India would be importing close to 10 million metric tons, or let's say 9 million metric tons, with out of 31 million metric tons being the global trade. And our production would be something around 30 million metric ton. So India is going to be playing very important role when it comes to the global trade in pulses. And that's why in any discussion, you'll find that on pulses, the center of all discussion is India, specifically in the 5 commodities which we'll be talking about and which I've explained. We'll start with the first important commodity. Definitely, we are having multiple analysts here. Now, what I'm doing is that actually we are putting our number and setting the context. I'm not saying that this data should not be challenged. Please, by all means, challenge this data because this is what actually our estimates are. Now, when we talk about 2024, 25 for Black Matpe, that is Udad, the carry was not that much, so we hardly had 0.09 million metric tons of carry. Production number doesn't look that great this year because we are looking at 1.75 million metric tons, unlike previous year when it was 2.1 million metric ton. Here, actually, we are adding both the Ravi and Kharif into that. And imports, we are looking at close to 0.9 million metric tons of import coming. Similarly, that will make the supply to be something around 2.74 million metric tons. And consumption, we see that actually, it is getting substituted and we are having demand destruction. So this on the consumption side, unlike last year when it was 2.9 million metric tons, this year it would be a little bit less at 2.73 million metric tons and a very minuscule export. And I don't see actually any carry over left in 24-25. That's alarming. Now let's delve into a little bit of those discussion on why we see these numbers. So India's kharif crop was low, so it was 1.2 million metric tons, and which means the overall marketing year we might see dip in the production. Even when the kharif crop was short, still in Rabi the sowing was not as aggressive as you would have anticipated. And in again Rabi, we are seeing that 0.55 million metric tons of production in India. So overall picture from India goes to be 1.75 million metric ton. Myanmar, the crop is pretty decent. So if you see that Myanmar, we are looking at acreage has improved and import will increase to close to 0.9 million metric tons from Myanmar. And a little bit of Latin America. Latin America, the previous crop was still they're selling, and the new crop, again, the sentiment is that actually because of delay in the government's policy to allow imports post 31st of March 2025, Brazil, specifically in Latin America, has not cultivated much aggressively as they have done previously. Myanmar overall crop would be close to 0.95 million metric tons, and substantial part of that should come to India, because I believe that, going forward, towards post July, we'll see decent price points of Black Matpe, and hence, the interest of Myanmar is to export to India. Latin America, we are looking at very minuscule 0.09 million metric tons coming from there. So, and if you go by the global production this year, is anticipated to be close to 2.79 million metric ton. Now, with that initial numbers, I would first like to go to Shyam Bhai. Shyam Bhai, actually, you are in Myanmar. I would request if you can start your camera. So that would be great. So we would like to understand from you, like, how do you see, the numbers? I know I put in some number, and we do have some years on the ground, but you are having actually not 1 year. You are having hundreds and thousands of years on ground. So that is where I believe, we would like to go to you and talk about some of numbers. How do you see the productivity in Myanmar, sir?
Thank you, Deepak Bhai, for inviting me to this webinar. And I really find this webinar to be very fruitful. Last time also I joined, and I think to all the people who are concerned with these numbers, I think they should join your webinar because you provide very informative session. And to start with the numbers, Black Matpe numbers, what you have given for Myanmar is around 9.5 lakh tons. This is very close to my number. Means somewhere I predict over 1 million metric ton. So, but as you know, in Myanmar, we don't have the perfect data for the acreage and the yield. But somewhere I find minimum 1 million metric ton will be there. But on higher side, maybe 1.1 or maybe 1.2. But when the time comes, maybe in April and May, we can forecast the exact figure but for the time being, 1 million ton is for sure. And for Indian production, what we have said, Rabi 12.5, sorry, 12 lakh 50,000 and Kharif 5 lakh 50,000. These figures also, like, I know these figures are almost near to correct. I cannot comment on that, but I find from different sources, I'm also getting these figures. But one fact we should understand, this year India is short of Black Matpe, at least 400,000 tons compared to last year. The production is short, and since the price is low, means if you compare with the last year, last two years, the price is almost 15 to 20% lower. So I feel the consumption in India will go up because all these any commodity, as you know, if the price is low, the consumption is good, and people, especially in case of black market, it is a unique item which cannot be replaced with any other item like pigeon peas or desi chickpeas or yellow peas. It cannot be replaced. So I think the demand for black market will be there from India since the production is also low. And luckily in Myanmar we have higher production. Last year we had 9 lakh ton production, and this year I expect 10.5, 11, so 15-20% higher production we have. So that is fine enough to meet the Indian demand. So this is for the number, this is my view. For the price, since I already mentioned the price is 15-20% lower than the last year, so there will be good trade, and I don't think there will be too much speculation in the market because everybody is aware that Myanmar have good numbers, and we have witnessed last 2-3 months Myanmar exported good numbers in like 80, 90,000 tons a month. And that is really a good number if you compare, like the average export for Myanmar for 5 years is around 6 lakh tons, which the average comes is 50,000 tons per month. But since last 2-3 months, this number is good, means around 90,000 tons average per month export is very good. That means India is buying and Myanmar is supplying, and it will continue. So all the stakeholders in this industry, I would say that be cautious. Black market definitely is going to be in demand. Since Myanmar has too much cargo, that doesn't mean that Myanmar will just throw away, or they will try to reduce the price, or they will pressurize the price. Buy as per your need. All the millers and stockists buy as per your needs and requirements. the price is going to be almost stable, say $50 plus minus. On the higher side, 50 plus, on lower side, 50 or 20, 30 minus. So this is a good year, good opportunity for the Black Matpe billers. They can buy at reasonable price. They can make some handsome profit and sell. So this is my output. The trade is going to be very good this year.
I totally agree with you, Shyam bhai. And currently, Urat is actually in India is unfortunately below the MSP. So I also see that if that persists, there would be government support also coming in. That's for sure. And if you see that the one of the culprits is actually MP and UP has not been able to have the productivity which generally they have. So I totally agree with you that the shortage would be there, but because currently there would be flux in the market, a lot of material will come. There would be panic because whole of the pulse basket is actually is literally facing the fire. So I would again, I guess, I rightly agree with you that don't panic, and for sure there is the supply side is shorter than the demand side for sure. So maybe it is just matter of time, and I would not say that please speculate, but at the same time, I think the fundamentally the price should remain upside from here, not downside. That is what my view. I would like to go to Mr. Sunil Patwari ji. Patwari ji, sir, the question is to you also, sir. Actually, how do you see the Black Mape market evolving and the production numbers, and how do you see the market unfolding, sir, going forward?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. So thanks, Deepak ji, for having me on the platform. So I think Shyam has covered most of the stuff. So my numbers are also similar in line with Shyam. I'm not expecting 1.2 million. My expectation is close to 1 million ton. It can be a bit plus minus. And the current market price, say between 700 to 750 for FAQ, are good numbers to trade. Indian pipeline, what we understand from traders, is empty. So continuously there is demand, there is a pickup, there are good consumption there. And last few weeks, the good part which has been seen in the market at my end as a trader, I've been seeing miller interest coming in from Chennai and other parts, which is a very, very good indications that millers have started buying because this is new crop. As compared to Brazil, I still feel Myanmar has got a lot of upper edge because to me, as a black market trader last 30 years, I trade average like 100,000 ton, maybe less, sometimes 50, 60,000 tons a year. I trade hardly anything from Brazil because I don't like the trade which is speculative contracting for July, coming in October, November now, which is like 7, 8 months, which is too much of a risk even for importers. So what I strongly believe is for importer, Myanmar is a best buy. It's a new crop. So the gum issue will be not there. It will be fresh crop and a very good crop. As far as Indian crop is concerned, definitely it's a bit of matter of concern because the overall consumption and demand and supply, the gap is about 1 million ton. Yes, there is enough supply. The policy has to be stable and Myanmar is there to supply. Brazil will be also there in the market. A bit of Thailand, but it's mainly Myanmar which will be supporting with spot cargoes, which is one of the best trade. Like you ship cargo and Chennai receives in 4 days. You cannot have any such trade in the world for imported cargo, and it's like a very strategic for India and Myanmar both sides. So
Perfect, sir. I totally agree with you. And Sunil, you said one thing very interesting, and based on your multi-decade experience, I would also indulge in saying that actually this forward trade has messed up this market, and we have seen that for past 2 years, right? That this forward trade actually, unfortunately, is one of the reason where you are having short of supply of majority of pulses, but still the prices are being hammered down like anything, whether it is pigeon pea, whether it is black mape, whether it is lentils. So I believe the fundamentals has gone out of the window just because actually these forwards create so much of speculative energy that actually the traders, the genuine traders, actually they have lost money now. The back of the envelope calculation of the losses this year to Indian pulses industry is 4,500 crores. Now that is, I would say that predominantly because of this speculative forward trade, and people should stop doing that in favor of making this ecosystem more vibrant and actually more stable.
yep, I totally agree. And sometimes people just ask me Sunil, even the banker, I had a lunch meeting with my banker today, and he asked me, how do you manage your risk? I just told him one thing, that don't sell forward. That's my thumb rule. So don't do forward trade. Some trade you have to do, like yellow peas, chickpeas, you have to contract. But why contract now for October, November shipment, November, December shipment, 2025, which is like 8 to 10 months, and then everybody have problem with so much of price fluctuations. So I
Yeah,
think,
sure. I'll agree with you, sir.
yeah,
Actually, like, $920 for Australian chickpea delivered post
yeah,
Diwali, right,
yeah.
in August. I don't know actually what that trader was smoking, or those traders were smoking, right? Because it doesn't look logical, but that has happened. That's part of the game. Now, I would like to go to our analyst community, like, because they would be taking me on task because they are having more numbers at hand. Starting with you, Rahul Bhai, sir, your numbers. I know you'll be having contradictory story. What would be your number, sir, for Udal?
For Urad, I'm assuming that this Kharif season production in India is 2 MMT, and last year it was 2.2 million metric ton. And import this year, I assume that it may reach about 0.7 MMT, and total supply will be 3.12. And consumption, as per my figures, it is 2.7. At the end of this season, we might have 0.37 MMT of Urad available with us. So from April to January, we have imported about 0.67 MMT of Urad, which is more than the last complete financial year. It was 0.624 MMT. So if you see the figures of imports in India, they are increasing throughout. They are increasing from 21 to 22, from 21, 22 to this year also. So it means the production in India is less and consumption is increasing for the order. And good thing is that we have a very good supply side from Myanmar, and Brazil is also emerging as a exporter of Urda. Now the problem with the industry is that extension of import. In like as you told that Brazil sowing period is up to the first week of March, and farmers they are getting good prices of maize. So the farmers who were interested in doing order, now they are moving towards this thing. So our dependency on Myanmar will be good. As you can see that Myanmar is producing half the production of India now, and which I assume that in next 5 to 10 years it will be more than India if things are going like this. If import is allowed and this thing, and you will see that in Myanmar the prices of oil in 2023 and 24 they were very high. Now they have reduced. So that means there is a competition in the market, availability is good. This is all from my side in Black Matpe.
So Rahul bhai, very interestingly, like, very interesting numbers. So in case we are having surplus, like, Myanmar plus India, of a decent amount, like, we are saying that 10% surplus would be there of our demand. Do you see that actually price will remain low going forward for most of the season or
See,
marketing?
in June 24, the prices were very high for black market. And when the prices of Myanmar, they start reducing, the same pattern is followed by the industry. Now the prices, they are very less, means they are not up to the mark and less than the MSP. So in future, since the production of India is less and our dependency on import is increasing, it depends how Burma will export to India. As per my thinking, they will continue to sell in these prices because they have a very good crop over there, and there will be competition among the exporters to do this thing, to do as maximum as they can.
Rahul bhai, the last question, and it's up to you whether you want to answer it or not. Because in the end, I will be sharing actually what I am hearing in the power lobbies. Do you think, like, government of India should be again on 31st of means extend this free import post 31st of March 2025 for Udat?
Yes, they have to do it because our dependence to cater the this thing our consumption, we need to import udad. They should.
Fair enough. Now I would like to go to Tanmeji. So Tanmeji is from AgriWatch. Tanmeji, you work closely with multiple stakeholders in the industry. Sir, I would like to indulge with you and understand your perspective. So, how do you see the numbers, first of all, your views on that, and then we'll talk about a little bit of price.
Sure, Deepak ji. Hope I am audible.
Very nice, and you're looking dashing, sir. All in green.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, sir, regarding Udad numbers, what you have presented, we are close to that only, since the summer crop is yet to arrive in India. So, the summer crop assessment is still need to be done. But overall, what we are expecting that if we are considering the overall average crop for this summer season also, then our number is close to yours only, which you have just now presented, around 17 lakh tons, which is the total supply of urad. So definitely we are short in urad this year, and dependency, as Rahul has rightly mentioned, like dependency will be on the Myanmar side only. So I think the number which you have presented and what we are considering at AgriWatch is more or less aligned.
Tanmay ji, just indulge me for just 1 minute. So Tanmay जी, शिष्य के नंबर वही आएंगे जो गुरु से सीखता है. तो हमने आपसे सीखा है, तो हमारे नंबर आपके आसपास तो होना वाजिब है, right? So you have guided me. You have
सर
how to do
हमने ऐसा कुछ
estimation,
नहीं किया है सर.
right? So हम आपसे सीखे हैं तो वही नंबर आएगा सर. Please carry on. Tanmay ji, can you hear me? It seems we have lost Tanmay because of technical issues. Shyam, you have raised your hand, sir. Do you want to speak? Say some. Tanmay, you are back. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, so Shyam, please continue.
Yes. You asked regarding the extension will come or not. I think definitely it will come. Because as we see the numbers, the Indian crop is short, and definitely government's main intention is to stabilize the price so that consumers can get at a reasonable price. If they stop Black Matpe imports by any means, the price will shoot up. So Myanmar is, we are lucky again that Myanmar has good numbers to support India. So I don't see any reason why extension will not come. And also the price is, you see, the government target is MSP. So it is a barometer, we can say that MSP, they think the price 1 rupee up or down. And it is well below, 3-4 rupees below the MSP. So there is no reason why.
Sure, Shyam bhai. Actually, मैं सर लास्ट के अंदर अभी like उसका राज खोलूंगा. Tanmay ji, your views on pricing, sir.
Sir, well, I am expecting that the prices are at its rock bottom, and just now Sunil sir has rightly mentioned that यहाँ पर अब कोई risk नहीं है. Everyone can think of accumulating stocks at these levels, and I am also expecting like around June, July onwards. Around June, July, the prices will move up only. And for the short-term view, I'm keeping the short-term view of around 83 to 8500 levels for Udad.
Perfect. Sir, now one more thing, Tanmay ji, like, do you think like, because I'm not saying because you have engaged with government regularly, are we going to see that free import to be allowed?
Yes. Since Deepak ji, we all know that our dependency on imports for Udad is always be there. So sooner or later, the government of India will allow the free imports from 31st of March onwards.
Perfect. So great. So we had a good discussion on Udad. So now let me put a little bit of caveat that we can only basically estimate, understand, and come with our own perspective what's going to happen, because finally the government makes call based on a lot of information and data they have. Currently, we are seeing a little bit of delay because there was a little bit of confusion in the minds because of Udad also going below MSP. And if we see that, like, the price stabilizing, we would see it coming sooner. But eventually, I'm pretty sure that by 31st of March 2025, for those who are exporting Udad to India and those who are importing Udad in India, there would be good news, and we would be seeing for sure that the free import of Udad would get extension of 1 more year. So that is what we have been hearing from different sources. And going forward, I believe that should be the also a right policy, seeing the deficiency we are having. Now let's get it.
Deepak, sorry to interrupt you in
Please,
between.
sir. Please,
One
sir.
more thing for Urad, which everybody has to keep in mind, like the pattern, cropping pattern is shifting in India.
Right.
And it is very likely that this year also we may see during the Kharif season, Urad area may be switched with this maize or corn. So this point needs to be considered moving ahead also, though it is very early to predict anything. But as of now, what we are getting from the statistical analysis that Urad area will shift by 5-10% to maize.
No, I totally agree with Tanmay, and this would be for various other crop because of our ethanol policy, right?
Correct.
You see, there would be a lot of shift to maize. Maize is becoming suddenly the talk of the town. That is the only commodity if you see, right? That and wheat, which is giving really good returns to the farmer as on date. The rest, every commodities we are seeing that they are struggling. So yes, we might see shift from soybean to maize. We might see shift from urad to maize. So all those things, I think, government should be taking care of, because we cannot be leaning towards just one crop and then actually ignoring our own food security, because I think both oilseed and pulses we have been struggling for many decades now, and we don't want to create bigger problem. Now we will go to the next crop. So let me just share my screen and talk about it a little bit, and then we'll definitely have indulgence from our other participants. So red lentils. So red lentils is an interesting crop. We have been importing it in millions of tons, and definitely there are two origins which has been getting benefit out of that. Last year it was 1.56, and we don't see too much dip, but yes, there would be dip for sure in imports. This we are looking at imports of close to 1 million metric tons, while it was 1.7 million metric tons last year. While in percentage terms, if you see that, it looks a big number. But when we see overall average for last 5 years, this number is still pretty robust. Production, we are looking at close to 1.41 million metric ton of production of lentils. Supply side would be at 3.03, consumption around 2.68. So fairly, I would say that we are pretty comfortable on lentils. And maybe that is also one of the reasons that actually lentils has been suffering the most when it comes to the prices in the mandi. The mandi prices are, as I'm talking about January average, are around 16 to 17% below MSP. And that is what is alarming. So if you see that stock position is good, Australia saw a production of close to 1 million metric tons, while Canada's total lentil production was close to 2.5 million metric tons, out of which 1.7 million metric tons was red lentils. So we might see, I would say in percentage terms, sharp decline, but overall, if you see over 5 years average, still we'll be importing far more than the 5-year average. So overall, lentil production this year looks robust, with North America producing close to 3 million metric tons, and global lentils, all type if you put it, is close to 6 million metric tons of production. With that, I would like to indulge first with Harshaji. Harshaji, your views on how do you see lentils crop and overall trade? Harshaji, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
All right. Am I audible now?
Perfect. Loud and clear.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Deepak ji, for inviting me to be part of this webinar. The numbers that you have presented, I agree with those kind of numbers in terms of production and what India has been importing. But also the fact, we'll come to that import number, but let's start up with our seeding this year, which is as good as last year or marginally here and there. When we talk to the people on the ground, we understand that seeding has been lower in UP. MP seeding has not been very phenomenal, but so far, looking at the arrivals which we are seeing and the quality, it looks like a few areas in MP have come up with good yields. But again, we have to wait for complete harvest to be seen in terms to understand the perfect or the actual yield numbers. But if you notice, our area has been increasing in lentils from couple of years, but the yields have been very stagnant. Unlike other origins like Australia, where the acres have been increasing on a smaller number, but the yields have been phenomenal. That we have seen in chickpeas also this year, and that we have seen in lentils also in last 2 years. So that has not been the case with India. If we talk about our imports. Like you mentioned, we imported 1.67 million ton last year. The government was one of the biggest buyer for their buffer stock. But again, we consumed all of the other remaining imports, right? So our consumption was at least more than 1 million ton. We did some exports also. So whenever we talk about India being the third largest producer of lentils, we have always been the most important importers also when it comes to red lentils. We're importing it from Australia. Australia has been shipping like 45 to 47% of their total production to India. So India is one of the major market where any policy change or any fluctuation would definitely going to impact the overall global market. But again, coming back to so much of import that India is doing, we are also consuming it. So either our consumption every year is going higher, or either lentils has been behaving like a substitute for some of the other pulses, which it did behave last year for pigeon peas. This year it may not be the same because the chickpeas prices have also come down, unlike last year where 2-3 major pulses prices were moving at a very higher price, right? So in terms of, as you said, we are very comfortable in terms of our lentils availability in India. I agree to that point with the factor that India has been sitting on a very good stock of red lentils at this point of time in terms of government stocks. If you talk about port stocks, we have always been around 2, 2.5, sometimes 3. But if we talk about government, yes, government has around 5.5 lakh ton, like 550,000 tons of red lentils in their buffer stock. Now the market is totally dependent on how the government is going to offload those lentils into market, whether it's gonna be in terms of Bharat Dal or whether they are going to offload just like the auction tender that they do, and most importantly, what price that would be. Since the government this year would be buying 100% of lentils from the growers. Now, when it comes to the government buying, it's going to start from 25th of March. So we really need to see that when the pressure starts in first week of March, how many growers would be willing to wait for the government to start buying, or they would just come up in the market and sell off their lentils because they've been getting very good price for the wheat also. So these 2-3 situation in terms of yields ahead, what the grower is going to do, and most importantly, what government is going to do with their buffer stock and their buying from the growers. So as far as I have seen, we have been importing a lot of lentils from last 2 years, but we have been consuming those as well. So our imports basically remains at around 1.1. So even if the government has 550,000 tons of stock, we are still looking for a 500,000 ton of imports, which would be required.
Perfect. No, another thing actually, like, unfortunately, green and red lentils both are actually covered under the same HSN code. And for government to take any decision, because, Mr. Trump, right, he doesn't like to hear the word tariff itself. And America, while very small play, but still, like, they are involved in green lentil business. And for that, actually, like, for any tariff being put by India on lentils, right, that creates a little bit of challenge. Do you see, first of all, the government will take that little bit of step? And because, as we know, that the prices of lentils have been pretty below MSP. Do you see that government can or is expected to come out with some duty and agriculture cess on lentils import?
See, that's what we are hearing from the market because government is quite comfortable into red lentils in terms of their buffer stock. So if any kind of duty structure change or the policy change comes and the HS code is not changed for green lentils, then the green lentils importers will have to suffer for the trades that they have done, or the kind of import cost which will go higher. Also, I would say the exporters will also be suffering here in terms of, because India is one of the main market for green lentils. If green lentils comes under the duty regime, the buyers are here not going to rush and buy. The sellers at the origin might have to adjust their price. But again, since these two commodities, red lentils and green lentils, have different application into our market, green lentils going as a substitute for tur in a bigger way into tenders. Red lentils has its own demand and own consumption in all over India. So these two commodities should be kept different, and a different HS code should be made for them. This is really important for the government and the market to understand, to give a proper presentation to the government in terms of how red lentils and green lentils behave or being used in India in different ways.
For your just information, Asha, we have been trying to do that for past more than 6 months, and we are pretty close. I think that should happen. When is always a question mark, but yes, that thing has been raised and raised at very appropriate levels. I hope you will be getting some good news soon. Now I'll go to Jayjeev. Jayjeev, bhai, thanks a lot joining all the way from Australia. So your views on, like, how do you see Australia chipping in when it's come to lentils?
So generally this year, if you would have seen, and most years, Canada predominantly leads the way. right, for lentils, and this there has been the same. So they are the ones who brought the prices down to the $600 level, and which is why the Australians tried to follow a bit and were not able to cope up with that, and hence Australia was out of the market. So Australian farmers are very capable of holding lentils for a very long time. So there is no real pressure that they are really feeling that they need to be selling the product. We have a low production compared to last year. This year, we are only looking at 1.1 million and a very limited carry of maybe about 150,000. So on total, if we talk about, we had 1.25 million tons of product, of which almost 250 to 300,000 would have been already exported out. So net stock left with the Australian farmers or the Australian trade would only be about close to about 850,000 tons. And they have to last that for the entire period for the rest of the year. Plus, they don't know what's going to happen in the new season. So they like to keep it as an insurance. Number three, they also have a feeling of a taxation policy that we have in Australia, which is at June 30th. So a lot of people don't like to book in a lot of profits before this current financial year, which is June 30th. So hence a lot of farmers' tendencies are there to keep stock as long as possible. And it's a very easy product that we can hold for multiple years without having any issues related to its quality. So in that aspect, Australian farmers are not looking in any desperate situations to sell or are coming out forthcoming to try and make any kind of distress sales for the product. More or less, if you see, India is obviously going to be the driving factor. Everybody is waiting to understand if there is going to be a duty or not duty. Even if there is a duty, what is the structure that is going to happen with India and Australia trade, where the 50% of concession is there on the duty. So all of these things are still not been described or has not been detailed out yet in practicality. And right now, I think what's happening is all the farmers are just waiting and wait and watch kind of a game. Nobody's really in a rush. There is small demand that comes from Karachi. Sometimes a small demand comes from Sri Lanka. The farmers will sell a bit of there, and then they'll just wait and hold and wait. So yes, so from lentils point of view, our Australian farmers are very rich. They don't want, and there is no need for them to rush into sales. They have done a lot of sales where they needed to, and they have made that money, and they want to sit on, wait for it, understand what's going to happen in the future. They probably will wait for India's decision about 31st of March duty extension or not. And based on that, there will be some movements that will happen. We are priced at a very comfortable pricing in Australian point of view. Our Australian dollar is definitely favoring the farmers. If you look at it, our parity comes close to around that 640, 650, 660 levels, and which is where the trade is still buying. The Indian buyers are currently bidding 660, and that is something which is just at the parity point. So there is a possibility for them to consistently sell at these levels and still make money, but there's no liquidity in the market. And hence, because of that, everybody is just waiting to see what the Indian government is going to decide on this basis. Plus, also, there has been a lot of traders who have been burned, exhausted, and kind of have a lot of different factors that are going on. So a lot of people are not very convinced or not really looking forward to doing an execution of a trade unless there is some substantial benefit for the trader. So there is some kind of exertion and frustration there due to the whole market situation, which is also not driving a lot of trade offers coming into the market as well.
Perfect. Jayjeev, one more question to you. Australia has got, or farmers of Australia have got a big bonanza because of the forex movement. At the same time, also, I would say that the pretty steady demand from India. But at the same time, in India, we suffer other way around. So our traders suffer other way around because we are a double whammy, right? Because we imported, and there was generally pulses traders. They have not been hedging against the dollar. So that pained up a lot. And now we are seeing that little bit of challenge when it comes to the prices here. So lentils traders have lost pretty decent amount of money. Going forward, do you think that in case a duty is imposed by India, the Australian counterparts, whether it's the traders or the farmers, would be okay to adjust their price, or you believe that actually it will lead to higher price delivered and CFR basis on India?
I think there will be some price correction. It's not going to be significant because there is a 50% concession for Indian-Australian trade of 150,000 tons. So people would be first looking at targeting that area. I don't see the liquidity coming into significant, irrespectively if the duty comes in or not. There might be some distress sales by some traders who would have probably procured and holding on the material who could not offload it. But what happens at these levels, at levels that we're talking about today, the neighboring countries are already very comfortable in buying those numbers. So there is enough demand for them to tick along for the rest of the financial year, which is till June, to keep selling and supplying to Chittagong, to Colombo, to Jabal Ali, to Karachi, to Nepal, and they would be more than happy. And between these 4 or 5 destinations, they probably can consume about 30,000-40,000 tons a month, which is enough for the Australian farmers to tick along till June to see when they are going to go for sowing and seeing if they have a good crop coming in the next year. So they will keep it as an insurance. And if they get a good crop, that's when they will start coming out during the September, August, September to try and to offload some of the cargo. But till then, I don't see them to be very easily getting or letting loose of their commodity or the stock that they have. So supply point of view, in my opinion, it's not going to be substantially irrespective of whatever happens from the Indian market price point of view.
Perfect. No, that's very interesting take, and I also agree with you. Like, with the demands in other market picking up, right? Even putting a duty might lead to a little bit of inflationary pressure, but at the same time, we have to also safeguard the farmers of India because of the type of pricing we are having. I will go to Mr. Deepak Rawat. Deepak bhai, thanks a lot for joining. Your perspectives are all the way from Canada. How do you see Canada chipping in and creating more misery for our own Indian farmers?
So Deepak ji, first of all, very good morning to all of you. It's like 5 a.m. here. So
no, I always, Deepak bhai, actually, I always feel so bad to request you for these sessions, but at the same time, I believe without you, this would be an incomplete session. So that's why
sir,
my apologies. Thanks a lot.
Sir, thank you to you. Actually, I always love to be a part of, because you bring so much of insights. Like when we talk about any product, it's not only pulses. So, with data, with figures, facts, and, you bring all the, the experts of the industry together. So which is which is a privilege for all of us, like, to be a part of that. Now, coming back to the Canadian front, like, as you said, Deepak ji, what is happening with Canada is, first of all, we must understand, like, how the crop, what was the crop last year? How do we see the stock situation? And what is happening actually with the trade, with the type of prices we have? So when I start with the Canadian lentils production, when we talk about Canadian lentils production, we talk about red and greens together. Plus we have another category, we call it Spanish or brown lentils. So put together, it was about 2.5 million tons. But when I specifically talk about red lentils, it was only 1.8 million tons out of 2.5. Now, out of 1.8, yeah, I was reading some numbers, and Canada has already exported close to 750,000 tons. So we are talking about something close to 45 to 50% of their their production they've already exported. Now, what is happening in Canada for last 4 to 5 months? Yes, there is a disparity. When you look at the Indian market, when we talk about, the prices below 700 levels, between 650 to 700 from different origins, then there is no parity with Canadian prices. Like in last 4 months, just to give you an example, here we call the local market as track market. So on track market, the red lentils prices has dropped by hardly $20. But if you see, the difference has been huge. When you look at Australia, when you look at even Russia, I've heard that some Russian cargoes traded as low as $600, even 580 also, although the quantities were very small. So when you look at these numbers, here Canada, and then other thing is we need to see the Canadian farmers are not, they are pretty rich. They are also supported by the government policies. So they have the insurance policies. When we look at the current situation, they are not in a hurry. Like, if I go and if I say, look, I have this, so farmer says, sorry, I want to wait, because they have not even declared their intentions for the new crop, which they are going to, plant in the month of April or May. Now, what the current situation is, they are looking at India right now. What India will do with regards to the policy, like will they impose any duty, will they impose any restrictions, or they allow the free trade? So right now now if something happens, like suppose if India restricts, then they will divert some of their acreages to some other product like canola, wheat. So we have alternates here. Plus they can hold. I have seen some farmers here, sir, where they can hold their cargoes, red lentils especially, up to 4 years. So here they are not desperate. because you can see the situation. But on the other side, you see that, okay, if trade is not happening, how the red lentils are coming, from Canada to India. So we have to understand it's not a real trade. A lot of stock transfer is happening here. So you see big quantities are coming from Canada. So that's not a real trade. So from one place, the cargo is moving to another place. Now, when I also would like to bring one more point, like, you must have heard that, there is this tariff dispute going on between Canada and US, although it's not strong. I mean, it's not as, conclusive or significant, but still about 80,000 tons of Canadian lentils goes to US. So if 25% like, duty comes or tariff comes from 4th of March, then we will have to find home for this 80,000 tons of rentals, which is right now going to US. Then when we look at the other side, Turkey, we have the crop of Turkey red lentils crop is due in May. So depending, like, so there are various factors we have to see in terms of demand. We have to see a lot of demand. I was listening to Harsha ji, and then I'm also of the same opinion that there is a demand in India. Now, demand is like for the own consumption and for the re-exports. You might have seen in last 2 years, 2 or 3 years maximum, we have seen that TCB, which is a trading corporation of Bangladesh, is buying close to 250 to 270,000 tons of lentils from India. So that demand of Bangladesh, which they were buying from other markets or other origins, has shifted a lot to India. Plus, India's own consumption is growing at a rate of 4%, which adds up to another 120,000 tons of extra demand every year for lentils. So, right, when we look at all these scenarios, in the short term, I think the prices will remain stable for a month or so. Depending, then it depends on the Indian scenario. Then depending on the demand from Dubai, demand from Turkey, demand from Egypt, demand from Sri Lanka, all those markets. But I would say Canadians will not be desperate sellers. They might adjust to yes, there will be some, for example, if tariff comes, or so there will be some adjustment in prices, but to very small level, maybe 4%, 5%. I don't see significant changes in terms of prices. And we also mentioned about, the US crop. You also mentioned that, what is happening with this. So US produces close to 400,000 tons of lentil. But when you look at this US crop, it's primarily 80% of it is green lentils. You hardly ship it anything to India or other places. So Canada becomes a major supplier. The other thing is, Deepak ji, which I would like to add here is, we all are talking about Indian market, Indian duties, government scenarios. Nobody is talking about the weather scenarios. What I'm hearing is from some of the experts, the weather experts in Canada, that this year we might have a drought year. If that happens, you will see the production which increased from 1.2 million tons to 1.8 this year, it might go back to a million or 1.2. So then there will be a shortfall of 600 to 700,000 tons. Then you will not see any price falling here. If Indian crop is not good, or if something goes wrong with Indian demand or some other demand, the prices may jump. So this could be my short analysis of the situation.
Great analysis, Deepak ji, as always. And I totally agree with you. We should keep our eye on the weather as well, and not the type of weather actually detailed in one of the group I'm running. I see some of the people putting weather report, and actually it doesn't make any sense until unless you go on in-depth analysis of that impact of that weather. Very few people do it, and luckily, we keep on doing that. And as you rightly said, that if there is a drought year, there would be challenge in the shortfall. Luckily for India, I'm saying that just like what was the case with Chana for 2 to 3 years, we are sitting on decent amount of, I would say, buffers. Now, I would like to, with that, move to our next interesting discussion. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I would just like to, if you allow me,
Please.
I have done a crop tour in US last year. I was there in Australia at the time of harvest. And what I've noticed is that growers have been making all those origins like Canada, Australia, or US. The growers have been making good money because of, in pulses especially, because they're not making such good money in grains because of the prices, right? First thing, when a grower goes for seeding, it is always the price that they look, right? Everywhere in the world. Second is that I saw in Australia, it was more about a crop rotation that people follow in Australia and Canada. So pulses is not just about their, making money. Pulses is also about their soil, about their crop rotation. So with these two factors, price and crop rotation, is something that the growers in Australia and Canada are going to watch. So if I talk about Australia, I would like to know from Jay that, South Australia has been increasing their seeding for lentils from last 2-3 years. So it's not an option for them to do lentils, but it has become their choice because of the price that they have been getting for lentils, apart from the crop rotation. So how do they see Australian growers doing seeding this year for red lentils? Again, if we go back to Canada, I would like to know from Mr. Deepak that the prices have been, at higher price. Like the growers are getting good price throughout the year. And if you talk about drought, lentils are like drought resistant crop, more of a preference to the grower, apart from the yield and like crop rotation. So do you see that Australian, Canadian growers growing more red lentils this year, or they would go for green lentils looking at a more wonderful price that they've got for the green lentils? So it is very important for us to see when we talk about price adjustment, we really need to see what the other origin growers are going to do for the coming year. If they are again going to do great acres for red lentils, then of course we might see the price adjustment at origins. So I would like to know from them that where do they see the red lentils seeding in both the origin in this coming time, looking at price, looking at crop rotation, looking at the growers who have made good money. I'm not talking about exporters here, but the growers who have made really good money this year.
So Harsha, I can tell you one thing. Manisha, CNBC, her job is a threat. You can very easily replace her. so, gentlemen, over to you, Jayjeev and Deepak Bhai. In short, your answer to Harsha ji.
So I'll start, Deepak Bhai. So Harsha, your question is very valid. So definitely rotation crop is very important. Also subsoil moisture is very important for them to decide if they are able to crop or put in a pulses. Intention will always be there because pulses is a cash crop and they get a good amount of money. However, the demand for India and the market because we are still yet there for another 3 months before the sowing will start, or they will plan for sowing. So they will see the demand coming in from the supply from the world point of view or Indian subcontinent point of view. And if there is even sustainable demand that is there currently, then we will look at going for a large production or large sowing area, right? Given if there is a favorable weather conditions and everything. But if you start seeing there's duty imposed, if you start seeing that there is a supply and demand coming from all over the point of view that there is not enough demand coming in, then as tendencies, they will go into other crops. It's not just that lentils is what is giving them a lot of money. Canola is equally giving them a very, very large, valuable cash in the front as well. It's only been wheat that is something that has been a bit suppressed. But apart from that, you have got fava beans also, not just lentils, fava beans, which is all in the same area of growing. They can probably put in some more extra fava beans this year because last year fava beans was a short. So they have a different variety of opportunities to put a different product there. Lentils being the most easiest, resistant, and the long-lasting is the easiest favorite. However, it will depend a bit more on the demand from India subcontinent and this duty structure and all that of the Indian crop coming in. That will probably define if they're going to go for a very large sowing or they will just keep it to what they had last year or the year before. And again, our sowing does not really decrease or increase. If you see, it's been our yield that has been significantly varying, and at times we're getting fabulous, unheard of kind of yields, and which is why our production estimates go very, very vague. Because last year also, while sowing, we were estimating a crop of 2 million tons, almost close to 2 million tons, because we were expecting a great yield and a great impact and a great sowing. Sowing was almost the same. The sowing did not change drastically. It was only about 4-5% increment. We also are now getting to a point that our area for sowing is challenged enough that there is not going to be substantially large amount of sowing availability for them to do for the lentils. So I think from sowing point of view, we have a fair bit of stability, as this is what the max or around this is where it's going to be. But it will definitely define on the basis of what Indian duties and Indian production and Indian demand is going to come.
I agree on Australian yields being phenomenal.
Yeah. So Deepak ji, now your views.
Yeah, I'll make it very short, sir. So Harsha ji, you had a valid point. When we talk about lentils, definitely again in lentils, their cost of production and their margin is it's a, when you talk about red and green, so green, they get even up to two to three times of the margins what they draw from the red lentils. So definitely it's a like, remunerative crop. But as Jayjeev bhai also said, like, what happens in Canada, like we are struggling with canola production. We're the world's largest producer of canola. This year also we're talking about 2 million ton shortage. So see, this 2 million tons of shortage, like, can increase some acreage in canola, because canola is also a cash crop here. It's also like, it also offers a lot of, margins to the farmers. Secondly, when we talk about wheat, we are not talking about a normal wheat, we are talking about durum wheat. Canada is one of the largest producers of durum wheat in the world. So durum offers similar type of incentives to the farmers. So switching from lentils to these crops would not be difficult. Now, coming back to your question, that as you said, yes, we all know that lentils in general is a, drought resistant crop. But look at the last year, production of red lentils in Canada, it was 1.2 million tons. This year, 1.8 million tons. But when you look at the acreage has not increased significantly. It was hardly 2 to 3% increase in acreage. So what has impacted the production more is basically the yields. Look, you have seen, like, apart from Australia is the only origin where we have seen yields up to 3 tons per hectare. But when you look at all other origins in lentils, they produce hardly zero point 0.8 to 1 million tons per hectare. So yield is struggling. Yield is a point where we need to see what type of yield we can see in Canada. So in general, like, when you ask me, like, what the farmers will do, if everything remains same, if there is a normal trade, I would expect, the acreage to increase by 5 to 7%, not more than that, which would be close to 4 million acres, and which would result in something similar to 1.8 to 1.9 tons of production of red lentils. I'm talking about, what they are going to plant in the month of May and, April and May.
Perfect.
Thank
So
you,
now,
Deepak.
yeah, thanks a lot, Deepak bhai. And now, actually, like, let me be the little bit of party pooper for those who are exporting. We are expecting 30 plus 3%, that is 30% duty as well as 3% cess coming on lentils in upcoming year. So I think the story from 31st March 2025 onward would be very different. And that is what, like, feelers we are getting, that there would be import duty on lentils. Looks very certain as of now, but there is still nearly a month.
Why are you so hesitantly saying this? Say it in loud and clear voice.
Sir, आना चाहिए, and in fact we are rooting for it. We have written to the government to do that, to protect our farmers, and at every level we have reached out and we have been getting positive signals. That is what I can tell you as on date. Now, thanks a lot, gentlemen, for talking about a very interesting crop, lentils, a global crop for sure. And now we go to another very interesting crop. So yeah, Pigeon Pea, yeah, it has been giving a lot of nightmares to everyone, and the second largest crop, sometimes third largest crop from India after chana. Moong sometimes replace Pigeon Pea, sometimes Pigeon Pea replace moong. Here our numbers would be very different from what the market has been talking about, and including even the government. So what we are looking at this year, our production, we are still looking at 2.9 million metric tons, while trade has been talking about 4.5 million metric tons, government is talking about 3.4 million metric tons. We believe that the last year our number was 2.7 million metric tons, which was more or less justified with type of imports we saw. And we don't see too much of increase on top of it, 8 to 10% increase. So that puts India's production at 2.9 million metric tons. And imports of close to 1 million metric tons, supply would be 4.18. We would see some consumption coming back. Last year, it was total demand destruction when it comes to pigeon pea. We saw yellow peas, we saw lentils, all substituting for pigeon pea because of the very high price. And still, the retail prices have not come down very drastically. But I believe, there would be pressure for them to put it a little bit lower than what it is today. And with those corrections, we see some demand coming back. Close to 12 to 13% demand would come back, but again it would be nowhere near the 5-year average. Export hardly anything. Ending stock should be as much as what it was last year. Now coming back, the reason actually, we saw that there was a lot of holla around Karnataka, that Karnataka would touch 1.3 million metric tons of production. that figure has not been materialized, though they have higher sowing, but because of the weather, we found in peninsular India there was challenges, and we are looking not more than 0.9 million metric tons of crop coming from Karnataka. Already, if you see that actually total availability, what you see in the mandis in Karnataka, by that time, this time, typically the end of Feb, you have already seen between 0.5 to 0.6 million metric ton trade already happening. But this year that number has not reached. One reason is definitely the price, and second is also not right availability. Maharashtra has done as good as last year, would be close to 0.7, and rest of India has also chipped in with nearly the same. Gujarat is maybe 5 to 10% more than what it was last year. UP is again same, Jharkhand is same, and rest of India we don't see that too much of increase. So that puts our number to be close to 2.9 million metric ton. Myanmar, again, we are having very different view than what the trade has been talking about. So our number is that overall production from Myanmar should be around 0.25 million metric ton. And if you've seen that the initial quality which has been there has not been that great, that's why you find that the prices of Africa, Desi, and then lemon. Generally, lemon is just around or close to Desi or just below Desi, but this year it is the other way around. We see that total exportable quality coming from Myanmar should be close to 0.2 million metric ton. Africa, it is early time because just the sowing has been started in Mozambique, in Tanzania. And there, actually, I would say that because the people or the farmers have not received, or that at least the traders, whether they would be very keen to, make offers to the farmers or not. TMX methodology also have been more or less established now, and it has seen its own pros and cons. And we believe that, in Africa, the crop should be as much as it was last year, nothing more. So Mozambique, we are seeing at 0.32 million metric ton, Tanzania 0.22, and then Sudan around 0.07. Sudan also we see a little bit of dip, and the rest of Africa remaining 0.2 million metric ton. So global production is estimated to be 3.96 million metric ton, 2.9 coming from India, 0.25 from Myanmar, and 0.81 coming from Africa. Now, with that, I would like to open the forum to discuss. And if we are having Mr. Patwari, who was having some other alternative things to do and he was to leave, so if he can indulge in another 4 to 5 minutes, that would be great, sir. Sir, you are there. So your views on, sir, Pigeon Pea?
Yeah, hi. So Pigeon Peas, Myanmar, we are expecting crop of about 350,000 tons. Maybe Shyam will be able to reconfirm on the numbers. And the price have really corrected, say from 1,400 to 700 FOB levels. And the trade was quite active last 2 weeks. So we are seeing continuous demand at such level. And if the prices are remain in range bound of $700 to $800, then business will be active. And there will be demand. And from Africa, we have been seeing a lot of new origins have been traded, like Uganda, Nigeria. So every year I've been seeing one new country being added in Africa for pigeon peas because farmers have been fetching good price. So I think there's enough supply and demand is there, and the policies are clear. Unlike Black Matpe, it's still 26 March year end. So policies are clear. So a lot of motivation everywhere for the worldwide to supply pigeon peas to India.
Perfect. Shambhai, I know that actually you will be disagreeing with my numbers, and definitely my Indian friends would also be disagreeing with my Pigeon Pea numbers. So please indulge, sir. So Sunil Bhai has said close to 3.5. What's your number, sir?
My number is 4 lakh tons.
Wow.
I don't see anything below 4 lakh tons because reason being the area was much higher. One point which you mentioned that there was a flood in Myanmar. Yes, there was, but not in the Pigeon Peas area. Pigeon Peas area is mainly the central and upper part of Myanmar. There were not flood, even flood, but the Pigeon Peas plants are 8 to 10 feet, so not much affected. So because of the price last year, as Mr. Sunil also said, 1400, the FOB price went 1350 level. At the time of showing the price, the average price was around 1300, which is very much interested by the farmers. That 1300 FOB, it's a dream price for them. And the sowing was very good. In pigeon peas, they're not very less effort is done. They just make the sowing and wait. Since it is a 6-month crop, so weather was, I think, favorable. Not there was flood, but not much affected. So I feel Myanmar production is around 400,000 tons. But the best part of Pigeon Peas is there is no forward trade. As you have mentioned, because of the forward trade, the normal trade routine, demand, supply, and the fundamentals get lost. This year, fundamentals are working for Pigeon Peas, but I think the market is under pressure or of the impression that India will have 4 million tons of Pigeon Peas and it's like this. So because of this, I feel the current price of Pigeon Peas around 71, 72. It is the under pressure price, not the real price. And definitely anything below MSP, I don't see. The price should be close or over MSP. If your figure 2.9 million ton is correct, the price can go much beyond MSP. But I personally feel that we are there in Myanmar with 4 lakh tons of supply, and which is a good number compared to last year. We are almost 25-30% more, and we are very in a comfortable position to supply.
Shyam, there is an interesting aspect this year. So generally what happens, like, lemon and desi are pretty close because of the better OTR. This year we are seeing, like, African prices above both of them. That's one interesting part. Secondly, if I add up, like, all the numbers, like coming from Myanmar, coming from India, right, from the trade community, and coming from Africa. So if I just add all of that, we are looking at supply of not less than 6.5 million metric tons of tuar, when India, in their best scenario, right, consume 4.5. So if we are having surplus of 2 million metric ton, I believe that tuar should be something around in maybe, like, May, June, right? Maybe below the chana what it is today, around 50. But I hope, like, our numbers of India would be more correct than definitely other. As you rightly said, Myanmar, it's difficult to, like, get the numbers. With your understanding on the ground, your number, I'm pretty sure, would be more accurate than ours, because ours is, I would say, more of a guesstimate. Yours is estimate. I would now like to shift to, like, little bit on Africa. Starting with you, Guru Bhai. I think Guru Bhai is here. He was, yeah, Guru Bhai, your initial comment, sir, on how do you see Africa folding, like, giving numbers this year?
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me here. We see the Africa to last year. There's no much increase or decrease. The farmers realized good prices last year. So we believe the numbers are good. We're expecting around 250,000 for Tanzania. Hello.
Right.
Yeah. We expect 250,000 for Tanzania, and numbers in Mozambique also similar to 320,000. The sowing so far has been okay, but Malawi, there's been some crisis of foreign exchange, so it might affect some production in that area. But apart from that, Tanzania looks okay. But this year we have a system of TMX, which will be introduced 100% in Tanzania. So I don't think there'll be any direct farmer buying compared to last year. So that might keep this region's pricing a bit on the higher side due to heavy competition in the auction system. And because they're controlling 100%, so there won't be any side buying direct from farmers. So, and even the export procedures might delay, because you only get export permit based on the quantities you bought in the auction. So the formalities are much longer. So you have to procure the material, then you have to validate that procurement through the system, then only you get the export permit. So it's different from the traditional system where you just make container bookings, you have the export permit, and the cargo comes, and then you're able to ship out quickly. So this year is you have to buy the cargo, let it arrive to the warehouse, collect all the warehouse receipts, and then produce it to the government, and then only you get the export permit. And without any export permit, you cannot initiate any port procedures. So therefore, we see, like, shipments being delayed. So even a cargo which we bought in August, we don't see it being shipped until September. So the earlier crop will not be arriving from Tanzania this year.
Perfect. Going to you now, Hiten Bhai, like, as you are here, I would request you, like, your view, sir. You understand Mozambique pretty well, and you've been dealing very regularly with Mozambique. How do you see, like, things shaping up when it comes to Mozambique?
First of all, thanks a lot, sir, for having me in this panel and this discussion. It's been really good to understand what the market is thinking.
Can you start your video so we can see you as well? You look pretty handsome.
I that, but it says that host has stopped me. So I thought may reason.
No, sir. We would love to. Neeraj, can you just look at? Okay.
So first again, so thanks a lot for having me in this panel. And sorry, I'm having a bad throat, so my voice will be harsh for some years for sure. But yes, coming back to the actual discussion regarding Mozambique, it seems to be that whatever it was or the problems have been kind of sorted politically also and everything. Things seems to be very free flowing and normal now. Expected crops that people are what you are expecting, that numbers should be the right numbers. But again, Mozambique, the rainy season will start now, and I've seen at least 2 years, every once in a year, there is some kind of hurricane or cyclone or those areas. So you don't know exactly what the numbers will translate at the end. But fairly, one point which I wanted to probably put through was that in the numbers that you had mentioned that the imports during 24-25 season would be somewhere between 1 million, which is 10 lakh. And as far as my knowledge goes, from June to Jan itself, it has been around 11.5 lakh tons. So yes, those numbers have been a different. What if you compare them? How you want to see it? What was last year? What was estimated, and the number of the actual import that happened vis-a-vis this year also, because it's Africa, it's very difficult to guess what real numbers will be because you really don't have any estimates, right? You just have a fair, like you say, guesstimate what kind of crop is being bought by which kind of buyer, and then with that you kind of extrapolate that this might be the crop size, and that's how also it's going to be this year. I'm a little confused from one angle is that people have been burning their fingers in forward trade, but yes, people still want to do forward trade. There are offer in the market, and then people are asking my views whether it is good to buy or not. And I am saying that no, I'm not a casino guy. I've never been lucky, so I will probably hold my answer for that. So that's how it is right now.
No, very interesting take. Like, casino, very great example. And actually, like, a lot of traders have been indulging in casino work only, right? And casino also not like, where you play with a straight, I'll say that poker face. Like, we have seen that it's, in fact, we don't even know what is the swing numbers. And still, like, you're seeing African forward numbers, right? What is the logic behind that? What is thought behind that? Or is it just because, like, African tour prices have improved? Just try to find the way actually to, like, push it down back. So I believe a lot of introspection has to be there in the trade community, and we have seen the defaults. See, forget about it. If everybody would have made money even by doing forward trades, God bless everyone. Farmer would have made money, everybody would have made money. But we have seen that actually it was a bleeding year, and a lot of people who are traders who have been in this industry for more than half a decade, half a century, in fact, 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, they've said that they have not seen any year like this. So I think there has to be, like, an industry has to introspect for sure. And the good news is that you rightly said that actually, like, in Africa should be contributing pretty decently this year as well in Pigeon Pea. And then you also said, like, guesstimate. So I believe, like, we need to do a lot of scientific way of finding out the real acreages and for specifically volatile crop like tuar. And so much of money is made or lost. It's time we have to be, like, more careful about how do we estimate. And as you rightly said, actually our estimate is also basically based on I would say qualitative data rather than the quantitative data, right? Talking to people, understanding, talking to farmer, the government officials. But then again, that makes it not an estimate. That's a guesstimate. And I'm yet to find anybody who is actually doing estimate in Africa. It's very difficult. And now I would like to go to Himanshu before we go to our Indian analyst about this. Your view on, like, how do you see the Pigeon Pea trade unfolding?
Thank you, sir, for calling me here, inviting me. I would see most of the panelists has talk about the crop numbers. I would really want to shift one focus on how really this whole Africa India trade has happened last 4-5 months. It was very rock and roll thing. There were a lot of issues in terms of supply chains. Even if people were doing forwards from Africa to India, means Tanzania to India, they were not only getting defaulted on the basis of prices, they were also getting defaulted on the basis of quality. There are two major aspects. One, there were a lot of shipment delays. Shipments which were about to arrive in next 15 days, 20 days were actually delayed by one month. And then we saw a slight downside on the prices. Then we see TMX there was never a parity. There was never a back-to-back parity in TMX. I have been, constantly putting my head across that how you can have back-to-back parity with TMX when not we do forwards. We have to take positions also. And in this overall game, the best part, the best earner out of the picture, what I think is TMX itself. It was earning 3% of the trade value on maybe a working capital cycle of 4-5 days. So maybe we trade, we give, and when we pay them money, we have to pay 3% extra. And none of the participant in the whole trade was making so huge volumes. Sorry, huge margins. This is one thing. Second thing is number wise, as you correctly mentioned, means my number are more or less maybe plus 10% from what you have said. So more or less everyone is lying in that whole 15% plus minus range. So yes, Pigeon Peas specifically because of this rock and roll season completely, I personally have never seen such bleeding way where traders, processors, and most of the trade participants were, you know, unhappy across about the market that has gone through. Now, checking about the probability, like everyone is talking about the yellow peas, whether it will be extended or not. And then also the government buying, although our PM has already talked in this budget speech that they will go with the 100% procurement of couple of this pulses. Let's see how it unfolds, how the policy unfolds. But from here, as per the prices, most of the people, I agree to that these are more or less rock bottom prices of Pigeon Peas, considering the numbers. But yes, as you rightly mentioned, the overall availability of the quantity will be much higher in mid-June level. Let's see what the prices will happen. But again, everything on the government policies.
Perfect. Now I would like to go to Rahul Bhai. Rahul Bhai, your views on Pigeon Pea numbers, your expectations?
Pigeon Pea, if I compare with last year, the production seems to be better than last year. And this season, since the rains were very good, and after that also climate was quite compatible to the crop. And I assume that from last year, the production of Pigeon Pea in India has improved. And one thing I would like to tell you that IARI has come out with one seed called Godavari seed in Tuar, and that is giving more productivity of about 40 to 45%. And still that is going on. If that thing happens, if that seed comes out to, so our production may increase within 3 to 4 years. And coming back to the market, now what is happening, like Australia and Canada farmers, they can hold the crops. But if you compare Myanmar and Africa, they cannot hold the crops. And this year we have a good production in Myanmar. And I think in Africa also we might see good production because they got very good prices. And overall, now within 2 months, the prices of Pigeon Pea, due to the high production and high imports, they have reduced drastically. And in future, if you talk about the prices, I think these prices they are at bottom level, and then in future, I see the prices may move ahead on this, and prices will be more than MSP.
Perfect. Tanmay ji, your view, sir?
Well, Deepak sir, we at AgriWatch, we are expecting a good crop this year for Pigeon Peas, and our numbers are close to 34.5 lakh tons, which is 3.45 million metric tons for this season. And one thing I would like to highlight here, like arrivals are good in all the markets, in Karnataka, in Maharashtra, everywhere the arrivals are coming in a good flow, and the procurement drive is also on for this PSS and PSF stocks. One thing is there, like Karnataka government has recently announced a bonus of 450 rupees per quintal over and above the MSP level. So in my point of view, going forward, the base price for these Pigeon Peas will be somewhere near 80.5 rupees per kg because of this bonus only. And the adjoining states like Maharashtra and AP, their farmers will divert their crop towards the procurement centers in Karnataka. Because as of now, any other states like Maharashtra or Andhra hasn't announced any kind of bonus on procurement. So this is going to a good driving force moving ahead. And now here onwards, gradually the arrivals will also decline, and farmers will also hold their stocks, or they may divert their stocks towards the procurement sector of the government in Karnataka, as to get the better realization, or to get the benefit of this bonus over and above the MSP. Secondly, Deepakji, I would like to highlight about the crop estimates of Burma also. Recently, we had done some experiments through remote sensing in-house for our in-house experiments only. And we were having some ground truthing areas for Myanmar for both Udad and Pigeon Peas. And what we are getting, like for Pigeon Peas, we are expecting the preliminary estimates which we are getting through the remote sensing imaging only. We are expecting that the crop size will be somewhere near 3.3 to 3.5 lakh tons this year. And for Udad also, the crop size which we are getting for Myanmar is around 9.56 around through our remote sensing based imaging. Yeah.
Perfect. No, I totally agree with you. Tanmay, just couple of points here. So we also do indulge in using remote sensing. See, Myanmar, the challenge was that Shambai has, I think, is left. But the central province is right that actually it's grown there, and there was flooding. And if you see that actually towards the harvest side, right, the NDVI was actually pretty low. So that leads to actually you might be having good acreage. Initial crop estimates are good, but when it comes to the pod formation stage, there were challenges because the same thing happened in Karnataka also. Karnataka initial numbers, even I was of view that it should be more than 1.1 million metric ton. But then eventually, because of unseasonal rains, and then actually, in a long period of, I'll say, dry phase, there were challenges. And that's why you find that actually a lot of farmers there was unrest. And that was one of the reason actually, the government of Karnataka also declared bonus, because they said, we'll compensate your yield loss with little bit of better price. And in fact, there were a lot of push from the farmer bodies talking about giving them the compensation of the crop failure. And the arrival at the Gulbarga has been if you see last year to this year, I see a little bit of fall by around 8 to 10% there. But again, what I'm saying that only the time will tell for sure. I think Rahul Bhai had a he's raised your hand. Rahul Bhai, your intervention, sir.
See, the government procurement has been started it has already crossed more than 1 month, and we have only procured about 20,000 metric ton of tuber. I'm talking about now it. So this means that farmers, they are not ready to sell their crops at low prices, and they have got very good prices from last 6 to 7 months. So big farmers, they are holding their crops, and they are not ready to sell to even to the government. So it will be challenging for us also to make this sell out from them, and they are only going to sell their products on high prices. So that will also add support to the prices.
No, I totally agree. And Rahul, actually, farmer should be very firm, right? Any farmer who is having capability to hold, he should hold, right? And see, end of the day, we are living in a consumer's market, which is unfair. There is no reason actually tuber price should be below MSP, if you ask me, right? And at the time of harvest, in fact, the first thing we came was that we are waiting for udad, we are waiting for chana, we are waiting for yellow peas. But tuber, we said, okay, fine, 1 more year of extension. If they would not have come out with the extension, the prices would have been above MSP. So I think government has to learn from their own mistakes. That actually, still there is a month remaining, right? At least till 25th of March. Let the farmer make money, right? On the sentiment also. So whenever they're I don't know what goes behind the mind of the government. And my apologies to be so unhappy with what's happening, because every purchase is below MSP. Who loses? Our farmers. And the very rightly shared by our Canadian and Australian counterpart, that farmer is having the last say in their countries, and in our country the farmer is having no say. Now that's what I believe should not happen. Yeah, Tanmay, you were saying something, and then we'll move to the chana, the elephant.
Yeah. Well, Deepak ji, as you mentioned about the Karnataka's crop scenario, we have conducted a thorough survey in Karnataka, in entire north interior Karnataka region. And initially, we were also expecting that the crop size will be smaller in Karnataka. But eventually, during the time of harvest, we found that the crop numbers are really good in Karnataka, and that is why we have raised our numbers. And this time we have came out with our first estimate little late because of this survey findings, which we are compiling basically. So in our view, the crop is good in Karnataka.
Great. So Tanmay, I'm also saying, like, there is a 10% increase. There is a 10% increase.
Yeah, secondly,
yes, so
yeah,
Tanmay,
secondly, what Rahul has just mentioned about the procurement. So as on date, both NCCF and NAFED together has procured roughly 36,000 tons of tuar, and the procurement drive has started very late because state has to give their permission for this procurement, and which the both the agencies has received very late. Though the center has told them, both the SNCs, like you go and procure tuar, but the delay is from the states only to provide the permission. So that is why the delay in the procurement, not because government don't wants to procure. They want to procure, and they are targeting a good procurement for this season.
Sir, Tanmay ji, you and me have been in this business to know for a long time, right? कि जब है ना wheat का procurement नहीं push हो रहा था, farmer नहीं बेच रहा था, तो what government can do to get the procurement numbers up and ensure there is a procurement even when the prices are about MSP. So I would say that actually, like, let's leave it there on a public forum. चाय पे चर्चा करेंगे इसके बारे में. And one more thing, like, I would like to understand from you, because I'm also saying that actually our numbers were 2.7 last year and 2.9 this year. So we are also assuming there have been increase in overall production of tuar. What was your last year number, sir, if you can share? This year is 3.4 and last year was?
No, last year numbers were 30.1.
So, okay. So you're saying in a way, like, 3 lakh tons addition, and I'm saying 2 lakh tons addition from my previous number, because in our game, deltas are more important than actual numbers.
Definitely. No, ultimately, it is all estimates, sir. You are estimating, we are estimating, and throughout the country, everyone is estimating. So these are all estimates. So ultimate number is the delta only.
Yeah, so 10% increase. I'm also agreeing. You are also agreeing. So we are on same page as far as the increase in the overall numbers in percentage terms. Now let us go to now elephant in the room, right? I know a lot of people would be just waiting and to be talking about these numbers. Because after nearly 1.5 hours of discussion, we are extending our time. Still, I see, like, not many people have left. So that means there is interest. So chickpeas. So chickpeas is interesting. As a case, last year we have estimated 9.4 million metric tons of chickpeas production in India. This year we are just a notch above, so we are talking about 9.45. Still a little bit of early day. These estimate can still get revised, because, like, the harvesting season has just picked up, and the impact of heat and how it works out, that could be a multi-million-dollar question, because we have seen whether it's a wheat or chana, right? The overall heat stress can be a little bit of a problem, and it's still early days. Some of the weather scientists, they are predicting that actually because of the recent rain in up north, the temperature have cooled and it would improve. While some of them are saying that it is very temporary and very local phenomena, it's not pan across, like, Gangetic plain. So there could be challenges still there of the heat stress. So only time will tell that actually how much heat stress is there. But currently our number is being put at 9.45. Imports, we are looking at 0.75 million metric tons, supply of 10.31, consumption around 9.6. Consumption will surely decrease for a very simple reason. We are flooded with yellow peas, and in horeca sector, in street food sector, all your pakoras, I can tell you, like, a substantial amount of that pakora is not coming from chana basin, it is coming from yellow peas basin, and very minimal, I would say, export, and 500,000 ton of carry forward we might be seeing. Now, when we talk about chana, so arrival of next domestic crop has started, so currently good availability. Prospective large volume import have happened from Australia. Crop size in Australia was large, estimated to be 1.5 million metric ton, which might see 0.6 million metric ton getting exported to India till March 2025. Tanzania crop might be larger this year because of good realization as compared to pigeon pea and chickpea being short duration crop. The acreage has seen some increase. So it is also important to that the non-availability with high retail price has led to switch to yellow peas or demand destruction. India has a war chest of 3 million metric tons of yellow peas. When I go to global production of chickpeas, we are anticipating it to be close to 12.85 million metric tons, with India leading with 9.45, followed by Australia, Turkey, Pakistan, and the rest of the world. So all of them contributing between 0.6 to 0.7 million metric ton. So with that, I would pause here when it comes to yellow peas. I start with you, Tanmeji, first. Your sir views on chickpeas.
Well, Deepak sir, this year we are expecting the crop will be higher by 6% from last year. Last year's our number was 88 lakh tons, and this year we are expecting a crop of around 94 lakh tons. To be precise, it is 93.8 lakh tons. So there will be a 6.2% increase this year we are anticipating. And as of now, we are not finding any stress to the crop because of the heat conditions which has recently arisen. The weather is favorable as of now. In Himachal, we are getting snows intermittently. So that is cooling the temperature in both the central as well as in northwest India. And recently on 20th of this month, we received some rains also in eastern and northwest region, and even in northern India also. So all these things are favorable for the crop. In south, the harvesting is in its full pace, and some harvests have also started in central India, in Madhya Pradesh, and partly in Gujarat also, and in Rajasthan also. And overall, it seems like as of now, the crop is good, and there would be chances, possibilities of good yield, higher yield this season. So, from yield's perspective, if I talk about, then we are expecting like a 3% increase from the last year's.
So Tanmeji, one more question to you. Like, do you see government coming in big way in procuring what initially talks were about procuring 3 million metric tons of chana? Because chana is like, for example, Rajkot Mandi yesterday was quoting below 50. So we have seen like, that the prices have really dipped extensively, like, from 84, if it is 84 in a trade, then I would say Mandi price of around 80, 81 rupee, right? To something around below 50. So 30 rupees of dip, which is again unheard of. Did you see that actually government would try to support by aggressively doing purchase? Because that's not seen on the ground as of now for chana.
Well, definitely, government is planning to procure a good quantity for chana this year. As we all know that their buffer stocks are next to negligible now. They don't have any stocks left because of this Bharat Dal and other distributions. So definitely they are planning for a good procurement this season, and sooner we may hear that government is going to start its procurement. Just they are waiting the arrivals to pick up pace in both this northern and central India.
Did you see anything happening also on the
Probably.
import policy? Do you think that there is a rethink on, like, whether to go for next year also with the free imports of chana?
But sir, as of now, what I see, like government also knows that our crop is about to come, and they also need that our local farmers get a good return. So as of now, I don't think there will be a free imports for chana. Might be some duty or something may come.
No, that would be great, because Tanmeji, I believe, like, in our harvest period, government should put a moratorium on imports just for those 3 months, right? And if you need, then open it up in September. As such, also Australian sowing is not going to happen, like, in March, right? So there is no point even if to keep it open currently.
So it may be possible, like they may allow imports for a limited period with some imports, this import duty.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So Rahul, by your views, sir, on the same, how do you see chana crop? And आपको सरकार को ज्ञान देना है तो क्या देंगे? सब देते ही हैं उनको, लेकिन what do you want to share in public domain? What would the ज्ञान the government should get? चना below 50, सर, ये ना ब्रेकिंग न्यूज अभी है ना, ये टीवी चैनल होता तो नीचे ना पट्टी चल रही होती, चना नीचे 50 रुपए के.
देखिए दीपक भाई, chana is one of the highest product in pulses. and number of farmers in China as compared to the other pulses, they are more. So what is happening in China? Last year, the sowing from last year sowing is improved, and I'm expecting that 9 MMT of production within India, and about 10 lakh tons of chana it will be imported from different or from basically from mainly from Australia. So if you check the production figures with the back our old stocks and the availability and your consumption, so we might be having the stock of chana more than the production, so which indicates that prices may for certain time of period prices may fall down below MSP, and that will be a very golden chance for government to procure chana, because last year they were unable to get chana from there, and as per my resources that they are planning to purchase 1.7 MMT of chana and masood this season. So overall, it will be very good chance for the government to make their buffer stocks, and prices in future due to availability issue, they may fell down during the peak season below MSP. These are my views on this issue. And plus, the P import, it plays a very important role in that.
Right. No, because yellow peas is creating problem for everyone. We'll discuss about that also. So Rahulji and Tanmayji, one more thing, if you see, if you make a ratio between the highest price being paid in INR terms, right, to farmer in Australia versus the current realization of Indian farmer, you'll be surprised. The highest price paid to Australian farmer was in Indian terms 7,765 rupees per quintal. And when we put it for Indian farmer at 50 today, we are talking about the difference ratio of 1.6 times. So John is making 1.6 rupees while Ram Prakash is making 1 rupee. So that is right, not a great situation. And I also believe, like, the government should be, at least for time being, maybe for sentimental reason, because as such, like, the sowing pattern of Australia is not going to change. In case we see deficit in future, we can always open it up typically in August or September when the sowing window start for Australia. But currently, I think actually we should put very heavy duty. My recommendation would be like, we should go with 50 plus 5, right? 50% duty and 5% cess is what my recommendation would be. And I've been asking government to do that going forward. Now, we all are already in the room, and let's go to the next. I've not taken any numbers because we hardly produce anything when it comes to yellow peas. Starting with you, before that, I would like to go to Jayjeev, Australia chana, if we stop import, how it is going to impact you, sir?
We don't have a lot of stock left. We've already exported more than 1.5 million tons out of the country. Even if you take our production as 2 million tons approximately, we only have about 500K or less, of which half of it had probably already been sold from the farmers. So farmers probably don't hold anything, or next to negligible is what they will have. They would probably have sold out almost everything to the trade. Again, similar to lentils, the neighboring countries are deficit. They need to buy, because last 3-4 months, India has been the only giant whale that has taken all the chickpeas from Australia. So the neighboring countries haven't really taken a lot. So you still have Pakistan and Bangladesh that regularly keeps buying, even though their demand is during Ramzan. Pakistan is there in the market to buy. They came in, and that's why you would see that the price suddenly went off all the way up to $730, $740 CNF Karachi, which is kind of come down to $700. But still, if you see, there is no liquidity. There is no chickpeas available. We are not able to buy. Farmers don't have it. The stock's not there. There is hardly anything left in the country for them to be exported. And hence, not much impact to the Australian farmers about whatever happens to the Indian duty for chickpeas at this point of time. Yes, the only consideration would be is they will need to consider if they are putting in another crop, how much are they going to be putting in? And that, as you said, we have a bit of time. I don't think it's up till August, but probably June. They need to have a decision or get an idea about June, July. But again, wheat hasn't been really giving such a good yield, or a crop, sorry, not yield, hasn't been giving a lot of money for the farmers, which is why they might be a reason for them to still grow a bit more chickpeas. On an average, if you see, we grow last year also, before this big crop, we had about 700,000-800,000 tons. And the neighboring countries, the demand SMD point of view, they do consume that much of it. So I think, again, this year, yes, though we did a lot of extra sowing in acreages, but our yield was again fantastic for chickpeas. And this is why we got such a big bumper crop of 2 million plus tons, in my opinion. So just conclusion point of view, even if we put duty, I don't see any much changes with the Indian farmers at this point of time. Sorry, Australian farmers at this point of time.
Perfect. So we'll indulge now in yellow peas. I start with Harshaji. Harshaji, your views. I hope we were having Harshaji. Ma'am, are you around?
Yeah, Deepak ji.
So, ma'am, yellow peas का क्या करना चाहिए?
Well, I think if we talk about stocks of yellow peas, we are sitting on some good stocks at the various ports in India, close to 1.1, 1.2, as I calculated last month, and we'll be getting some more stocks coming in. So if we look at the consumption that we have seen for yellow peas in last year, which was around 200,000 tons every month, if you look at the imports, we have seen imports close to like 2.7 million ton. Out of that, if you talk in January, around 1.6 million ton was already lifted from the ports, right? So that tells you about our consumption of yellow peas, which has gone into the pipeline. So the yellow peas consumption had been really good. It slowly, gradually, it went as a substitute into the market, right? But if you look at this year, the scenario has been changed in the sense that you have got a good arrival of Australian chana into India, which was not the case last year. You got a good production of pigeon peas, which was not the case last year. So we don't see that kind of pressure right now where yellow peas could be substituted in a bigger way. Even if, of course, even if it goes into substitution, and even if we see that our yellow peas crop or the production would be less than last year, more acres have gone to the green peas, and the acres have been reduced because of the price, we are still sitting at a reasonable stocks at the port. So even if we see 50% of substitution of what we have seen last year, we already have that stock at our various ports. So we are not in a position where we still have to look for a big substitution. We still have to look for a big quantity to come in. Keeping in mind, now we have Australia, which has given us good crop. And if the extension comes, Australia will be doing again a good seeding this year for chickpeas if India gives an extension. So other commodities prices have been controlled. Look at lentils, look at pigeon peas, look at urad. So we are not seeing that kind of inflationary pressure which we had seen last year, and the kind of supply gap that we saw last year. So yellow peas, I think India is in a comfortable situation in terms of the import stocks which are sitting at various ports. That's what I can think of.
Any views you would like to indulge in talking about, like, policy? Should any extension should be coming, or it should be extension with duties, or you think like outrightly we are okay for this notification to just lapse, and from 28th February onwards, we believe that not a single grain of yellow peas would be coming to India, because MIP 200 nobody will bring it, right?
Correct. Those kind of policy change will not allow any kinds of import indirectly. But also, if an extension is given for a small window, it's not going to help logistically also. And the government is keenly watching their chana crop. I'm sure they're looking at all the states where chana is growing, and they're keeping watch on the chana harvest, and the prices have been controlled. So I don't find it a very immediate requirement of extending yellow peas import. But again, we here talk about demand and supply, but government is thinking a lot of things when it comes to coming up with a policy decision. Probably we don't even know those factors. Maybe it's the cheapest pulses to be provided to the consumers, or maybe it's the nutritional benefit that they're looking for their consumers. But if we talk about purely demand and supply, we can clearly see that we have ample of stocks at the port. So we are in no rush to get, requesting for an extension for yellow peas. I don't see any point in that.
No, I totally agree. See, the government intelligently, what they did is that they ensured that 3 million metric tons of buffer was created in pulses without spending a single penny. Right. So that and that put pressure on all the other crops.
Yeah.
But our farmers suffered. I think Deepak ji also is having some views, and definitely his views are very important from Canada. Right? Canada has been like, dumping so much of yellow peas that actually, our ports are choked and our warehouses are choked. There is no place for anything else to be kept. Deepak bhai, your views on yellow peas?
So, Deepak ji, just I would like to add just 2-3 points. So first of all, sir, it was not dumping. It was basically stock transfer. So I would just correct the word called stock transfer. So anyway, coming back to the look, Deepak ji, you started the seminar with the projected demand of pulses in India. So we should not have a narrow view. We should have a broader view. Okay, when we look about the really about the consumption patterns, the consumption requirements, especially of yellow peas and other pulses. You yourself has projected more than 30 million tons. Again, last year we talk about 6.6 million tons of imports in India. Which was the largest product? It was yellow peas, more than 3 million tons. So almost 50%. And do not forget, this is the only pulse which is the cheapest in the world at around $400 level. You don't find any other pulse like this. Now, what we should do, like you asked a question, what the government should do or what the trade fraternity feels like. See, I'm not advocating for the exporters or the suppliers, but what I believe is India should have a broader view where they should allow, the imports to happen, but with some restrictions. So there are 2 points which just I would like to say here. Number one, we should have the government of India through some sources like, they have import monitoring registration system. So they should control the flow. They should put some duties. They look at it as a quarter to quarter wise, that for example, if they see, so there has to be information between the origins and the destination, and government can easily control it, by doing this. So they should like basically know how much cargo is coming, how it is going to impact. I agree, like if there is a supply of more than 1 million tons still lying in India and the people are reeling, with the prices going down, or people have lost a lot of money, so I have sympathies with them. I'm not saying that, go and drop it in there, but allow this policy, make it okay. So for next 3 months, something like it. So it is opened, but with these restrictions, which do not allow any importer to import because of the non-viability of that product. So that should be done with a broader view, that okay, or bring some quota system, something like, that okay, we can allow maybe 500,000 tons, with under this quota program or something, but do not close it, because what happens is, let's assume next year, if India has a bad crop, we still talk about irrigation. Our agriculture is dependent on, like, monsoon. Almost 50 to 60% of our agriculture is depending on monsoon, more so pulses. So if something goes wrong, what signal you're giving to the origins like Canada and Australia? So you should have a policy where you should take all the stakeholders together. So information, flow, proper information flow, and proper implementation of the rules. Like if government of India makes a rule that it has to be registered, if a shipment has taken place, it has to be registered in within 7 days. It has to be ensured and implemented properly. It's not like that. There should not be loopholes. So, I believe we should not give any signals. Then what happens is, if Canada decides to divert to some other place, or, Australia decides something, believe me, we talk about Australia, we talk about Africa, and so many other regions. Still, Canada and Australia are the major producers of most of the pulses which India consumes. So we should give right signals to them that, guys, listen, we want to buy, but right now we have these issues. So we would like to defer it, or we will take only this type of volume. We should not close the doors. We should open with restrictions where we protect the Indian industry, as well as give the signals to them that, okay, guys, you please keep growing. We might require it. We will still be your relevant buyers, or, importers of this cargo. That's it, sir. Thank you.
No, Deepak, I'll just add a little bit of perspective here, right? Let's understand that part also. Tour, we have been pretty open policy for a long time. When we face scarcity, Myanmar was charging us 130, 1300 US dollars, right? Africa started with 1100 US dollars. So it's not that actually, like, even if the policy is there, when our bad time comes in, we are actually being charged at, like, the I would say opportunist price itself. For example, yellow peas also, when it was opened up, 520 US dollars, sir. Actually, before that, it was being traded 380 US dollars. So it is not that actually, like, everybody in trade is like, is always focused on balancing out. I would say that India should also become sometime. See, we are the largest market. At the same time, if we are not able to dictate the international prices, then there is something wrong seriously with our policy. We should be dictating the prices in the global market, being like, the 25% of I'll say that the trade player in the sector. But we are always dependent, right? And this is the first time you'll find that actually, like, yellow peas has been battered to the level where like still like that it's stock transfer in rightly what you have quoted, it's happening, right? If it was making losses for the traders in Canada or similarly Pigeon Pea in Tanzania, they would not be growing this year. But again, you'll find that this year also, like it's the same sowing which is happening in Africa. So it's what I believe is that actually we have to also balance out. India cannot be always on the receiving end, and especially Indian farmers. And Indian farmers have suffered because it has impacted every possible commodities, like and all the pulses are either between 85 to 97% below their MSP. So if Indian farmer doesn't make money, and they are also like close to 13 crore farmer, and if I put their family, it is 60 crore people at stake.
Deepak ji, I just add one thing, sir. So with my practical experience of trading, now let me give you an example of desi chickpeas. Recently, we have seen, so people, when I was in India, people were using a word called bloodbath in pulses industry, which is fine, sir. Now, as a trader, I stopped trading after a certain time because I knew how the cargo is going to flow into India. It's not about one product. I'm talking in general. So, sir, it's more about taking responsibility. The question comes that who will bail the cat first? So, it is also about the responsibility. We cannot just say that, that somebody is suffering. Somebody has to also take the responsibility. Like when something is open in India, you are right. It's a herd mentality. When one buys, the second one goes, and everybody feels, oh, as if like, the prices are going to, just flourish them or make them, something else. So this should not be that there has to be a responsibility. Now, the other thing is, sir, proper implementation of data, transfer of data, which has never happened in India. Thirdly, sir, like, when you, for example, if you're sitting in India and I'm sitting in Canada, I see when I get a chance, I try to scratch your back, and when you see a chance, you try to scratch our back. So, it should not be like this. We should take all the stakeholders, together and, make a policy or do something where everybody should take care of their own responsibilities, that okay, how much we should export, how much we should import, also what type of data is coming. Like, can you tell me, like, is government or any other private player, like, are they not aware that for example, the yellow peas was started in December 2023, sir. In December only 31,000 tons has come. That time the prices were over $700 in India. And suddenly what happened in the month of March, you see something close to 500,000 tons of yellow peas arrived only in 1 month. So who is responsible? Only the exporters? No, sir. Exporters, importers, policymakers, everybody. Why are you allowing so much of cargo to come? And when you allow so much of cargo to inflow at one time, definitely what will happen? The prices will crash. You will have liquidity issues, you will have defaults, you will have so many. So basically, it's the responsibility not only of the government, it is the combined responsibility of traders like us, associations, government policies, importers, exporters. But it has to be a balanced approach. That's what only I want to say, sir. Thank you,
Perfect.
sir.
Totally agree with you. So Rahul bhai, going to you, sir. The holy grail of pulses industry, right? Yellow peas. अब तो मेरे को तो टेंशन हो जाता है when I go to eat out ना, right? I don't know my sambar is yellow peas or it is sambar. Whenever I see more tadka, I can understand. Like, he would have put yellow peas into it rather than my tuar.
Yes. So, Deepak bhai, the peas has disturbed the peace of pulses. We have imported about 3.2 MMT from December 23rd to January 25. Can you imagine the production in India? On the upper side, it was 1 MMT, and we have imported 3 times of that. So ultimately, what happened? There is a consumption of 28 MMT in India. So what is happening due to less prices? The consumption of other pulses, that was also less, and as the consumption is affected, prices were less, and farmers, they have not got the good prices. Now in this budget, what happened? Government allocated 1,000 crore rupees for this next financial year, and in total they are going to allot 6,000 crore rupees for next 5 years for pulses, and they are ensuring 100% procurement of 3 crops. So farmer, as far I know, the farmer, he only knows the prices when he is sowing the crop and when he is harvesting the crop. So price plays very important role in pulses. You can have your target that India is going to have 35 MMT in last 10 years, but all these things, they goes in vain. main thing is farmers, they should get the good prices. So in peas, what is happening? One side, government is saying that they want to give the MSP to the farmers. Another is on second hand, they are ensuring that consumers are not affected. They should get the good prices. How this can happen? On third side, you have allowed imports of pulses. So it is very very अजीब सी situation है कि on which front they are thinking on that. So peas में when the import was not started, the prices of peas in local mandi, they were 7,000 rupees per quintal. Farmers, they were very happy in sowing, and they when this import was banned, they have increased production from 5 lakh tons to 10 lakh tons within 3 years. And they are sold at 7,000 rupees. Now they are not getting buyers at 3,200 rupees. And second thing, in the last IPGA event, when there was news that government is not going to allow peas import, within 3 days prices have improved by 500 rupees.
No, so I totally agree. And see, actually, this is where it hurts, right? Our farmers put all their effort to double our productivity, right? And this is a rare crop where actually, maybe the number is not as big as China and all that. But in 3.5 years, if you're able to double your production, and then again, this time it is distracted by 70%. Right. So all the good work of so many years going down the drain, and it will impact, frankly, other pulses also. Because if this year the farmer doesn't get good price for chana or for tuar, what they'll do? Right? They'll shift to other crops. So, and I'm saying that giving 1,000 crore or 5,000 crore, 10,000 crore is not going to solve the problem. You will have to give them the policy. And as I always say that actually you cannot change the rule after the match has begun. आपने फर्स्ट बैटिंग लेने के बाद आपने बोला 50 नहीं 40 ना ओवर्स का ही द मैच वुड बी देयर फॉर द सेकंड इनिंग सो दैट्स वेयर एक्चुअली द सी आई बिलीव योर प्राइजेस हैज टू और द पॉलिसी हैज टू बी देयर before the season starts. You cannot change the policy after the season has actually is over. We said October it will actually expire. Farmer did the sowing, whatever, then actually we extended that. So I think it's not fair for them. Tanmay ji, before you leave, your parting view, because we are also just concluding with your view, sir.
वेल सर दीपक जी सभी जानते हैं कि पीस ने सबका पीस निकाल दिया है इस बार. सो यस मैं डायरेक्टली अभी किसी नंबर्स वगैरह के पे ज़्यादा नहीं आऊँगा, बट व्हाट आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग लाइक this year, now this 28th Feb onwards, we may hear that government may restrict imports of yellow peas by imposing some duties, and even there will be a possibilities like they may go for a total ban also. So most likely duty part is most likely in peas as of now.
I think the notification is out today. I don't know why didn't we discuss about that.
What notification?
So the yellow peas notification is already out today.
What does it say, sir?
So they are saying after 28th Feb, the restriction technically now continues, but your cargo should arrive in ports by 31st March, and you should have your registration done.
So Hiten bhai, thank you. I was in this call, so I was not aware. So the good news for everyone is that yellow peas restriction is there.
Right. I thought, no, I mean, before this, just start of this call, no, this restriction, this putting
Sir, I was so much involved in this, so I was.
No, I thought so. No, you're keeping this as a suspense till the end. So
no, sir, you are the suspense breaker, और आपके मुंह में घी, शक्कर, और आपको क्या-क्या पसंद है सब.
Actually, I thought we'll discuss now because of this yellow peas. How will this impact now the chana price?
I knew, frankly, if it was deep in my heart that actually, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen the day we'll have this conference. Why? Because I preponed it from Feb to Wednesday because today the decision was supposed to be taken, and if it has happened, congratulations to everyone. And I think अब थोड़ी सी peace आ जाएगी. With that, we'll conclude this session, a great session, and thanks Hiten bhai for making it more, I'll say that sweet for all of us. And if you don't drink, then have your lassi. If you drink, then have your vodka. Enjoy the evening. Cheers. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Take care.